Orphic hymn to Noga. That is Hebrew for the planet Venus. Let's fucking do this shit. Green match. We're matching motherfuckers up in here. Yeshua Zavil. Yeshua Yehovasha. I consecrate the quarter of the east with holy and pure water, divine. I consecrate ye powers of the east in air. I purify. Yeshua Yehovasha. I consecrate ye powers of the south and of fire. I purify with holy water. Yeshua Yehovasha. I purify the quarter of the west and the powers of mighty water with holy water. Yeshua Yehovasha. I consecrate the power. I purify the powers of the north of earth, mighty earth, with holy water. Yeshua Yehovasha. I consecrate the quarter of the east and the mighty powers of air with fire, holy fire. Yeshua Yehovasha. Yeshua Yehovasha. I consecrate the quarter of the south and the powers of mighty flames and fire, and I consecrate with holy fire. Yeshua, Yehovah. I consecrate the quarter of the west of mighty rushing water with holy fire. I consecrate the quarter of the north of mighty earth with holy fire. Yeshua, Yehovah. I hereby declare the temple purified with holy water and consecrated with holy fire. Yeshua, Yehovah, Shah, Adonai. Pararita. O my God, one is thy beginning, one is thy individuality, and all thy permutations are all one. Akkad Rosh Akdotho Rosh Akudo Tamarado Akkad Ararita. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe. Holy art thou who nature has not formed. Holy art thou, vast and mighty one. Lord of the light. And of the darkness. Amen. Ate Yeshua Malkut Vigebura Vigedula Leolam Amen. Yeshua. Adonai. Before me stands Raphael. Behind me stands Gabriel. On my right hand, Michael. On my left hand, Uriel. Above me, Metatron. Below me, Sandalphon. For about me flames the pentagrams, and within me shines the six-rayed star. Kata Yeshua Malkut Vigebura Vigedula. Violam, amen. INRI, ignis natura renovatur integra, by fire nature's perfectly renewed. Yud, Nun, Rish, Yud, the sign of Osiris slain, the sign of Isis in mourning, the sign of Apophis in Typhon, the sign of Osiris slain and arisen. LVX, Lux, the light of the cross. Virgo, Isis, mighty mother. Scorpio, Apophis, destroyer. Sol, Osiris, slain and arisen. Isis, Apophis, Osiris. Let the divine light descend. Hararita. hereby call upon all ye forces of Noga. Prepare my temple with beauty. Bring into me joy, ecstasy, happiness, romance, friendship, love. 93. Do as thou wilt shall be the whole of the law. Love is the law. Love under will. L, V, X, loops the light of the cross. Yahweh, let the divine light descend. This is the Orphic hymn to Venus, rhymes of penis. And you shall be burning frankincense. Yeshua Zaviot Adonai Yahweh. Heavenly, illustrious, laughter-loving queen, sea-born, night-loving, of an awful mien, crafty, from whom necessity first came, producing nightly all-connecting dame. 'Tis thine the world with harmony to join, for all things spring from thee, O power divine. The triple fates are ruled by thy decree, and all productions yield alike to thee. Whatever the heavens encircling all contain, earth fruit producing in the stormy main, thy sway confesses and obeys thy nod, awful attendant of the broom, O God, goddess of marriage, charming to the sight, mother of loves whom banquetings delight, source of persuasion, secret, favoring queen, illustrious born, apparent and unseen, spousal
Lupercal, and to men inclined, prolific, most desired, life-giving, kind. Great scepter bearer of the gods, 'tis thine, mortals in necessary bands to join, and every tribe of savages, monsters dire, in magic chains to bind, through mad desire. Come, cypress born, and to my prayer incline. Whether exalted in the heavens you shine, or pleased in Syria's temple to preside, or over the Egyptians' plain thy car to ride, fashioned of gold and near its sacred flood, fertile in famine to fix thy blessed abode, or if rejoicing in the azure shores, near where the sea with foaming billow roars, the circling choirs of mortals thy delight, or beauteous nymphs with eyes cerulean bright, pleased by the dusty banks renowned of old, to drive thy rapid two-yoked deer of gold. Or if thy cypress with the mother fair, where married females praise thee every year, and beauteous virgins in the chorus join, Adonis pure to sing in thee divine, come all attractive to my prayer incline, for thee I call with holy reverend mind. Yahweh Yeshua Saviot. I invoke the powers of Noga. So Venus is north, northwest. Ararita. Yeshua Saviot. Hararita. I invoke the powers of Noga. Hararita. Yeshua Saviot. Hararita. I call upon the powers of Noga. Yeshua Saviot. Hararita. I invoke the powers of Noga. Ararita. Yeshua Savior. Ararita. I invoke the powers of Noga. Ararita. Yeshua Savior. Ararita. I invoke the powers of Noga. You didn't think I forgot about our special friend Hagith, did you? The Olympic Spirit. You're going to be working with that spirit. Alright. So Hagith. That's the sigil of the Olympic Spirit Hagith, who is the Venusian Olympic Spirit. So I'm referencing theomagica.com. This shit is fucking dope. The Ritual of Hagith. Because with true longing I desire to learn fully the skills of this life and those things which are necessary for us who are immersed in immense darkness and fouled with unending human beliefs, as I see that I can understand nothing through my own power unless you teach me, Lord. From the Orbital de Magia, prayer from aphorism 14. So earlier today, I wrote a thing about Natron, the ritual purity bath. Anyone that wants to be a neophyte in the alchemical at Kabbalistic Temple of Obsidian Flame, hit me up. Anyways, the key to any successful ritual is to be able to alter your state of consciousness in order to break through or avoid perceptive filters which normally inhibit direct experience and communion with spirits. Therefore, the term purification in this case refers to a period in advance of a rite that supports the breaking down of these filters or attachments to everyday life. Similar to most elements in the tradition of the magical grimoires, the actual means to purify our state of mind and living are heavily influenced by a Jewish-Christian worldview. The standard procedures involve multiple weeks of fasting, cleansing, prayers, and isolation. Also, I feel it's important to point out that the actual change brought forth by purifications happen in our heart more than anywhere else. Whatever means we choose to purify our lifestyles, the real aim of the game is to change the state of our heart. Imagine we all had a compass in our hearts, and the compass needle would normally be guided by our everyday affections, desires, and fears. Then the purification rites are what replaces the magnetic field of our personal desires with a field of devotion to God, or the spirits we summon. The foremost goal of purification rites is to change the intention of our hearts. Martin Buber, in his seminal introduction to the legends of the Baal Shem summaries the four aspects of a purified life according to Hasidic Jews. Hitlawat is the flare. It is the zeal of ecstasy. A flaming sword guards the path to the tree of life. It sputters on the touch of Hitlawat. Awada is devotion. If Hitlawat is the mystical feast, Awada is the mystical sacrifice. All deeds bound into one and eternal life embedded into every action. Kavana is the mystery of a soul directed towards a single goal. Shiflut is humbleness. It is the awareness of the uniqueness of each aspect of creation. It is the awareness that doesn't compare two things but surrounds each of them with the love it deserves because of what it is alone. Martin Buber's powerful introduction together with Aaron Leach's chapter on purification and prayer should suffice for anybody to get to the bottom of what purification rites and magical rituals are all about. It might take a lifetime, however, to fully express and experience it in your own way. Or as Lou Reed put it, between thought and expression lies a lifetime. Between thought and expression lies a lifetime. Alright, enough deviation. Here's what this has to do with my rite for Hagith. I really think my preparatory purifications for this rite did didn't get close enough to what I am sharing above. Here's what it consisted of. Setting the day of the Hagith operation 1 week in advance and consciously focusing on the forthcoming ritual during every day of that week. Dedicating the full day of the operation to the work, including several hours of preparatory work, including creating a layman and meditation, a ritual cleansing, a bath, and meditation before the performance of the rite. Now, before I started to perform the ritual, I thought this was a pretty solid approach to changing the intention of my heart. And it was, but I forgot about everything outside of it. When I cleaned and prepared my temple on the morning of that day, I forgot to realize that the atmosphere in it was cold and damp from the long winter months during which it hadn't been used. I did realize a lot of large spiders and white cobwebs behind the black curtains. But here we are living on the countryside, and I guess building a temple into an old barn will always come with these types of silent visitors. Yet what I overlooked was that the presence of spiders and cobwebs should have pointed me to the astral state of my temple. The energy was low, and there were certainly some astral cobwebs in the curtains. I should have purified it by burning menthol crystals and performing a ritual cleansing of the entire sacred space. Perform a ritual act to revive the energies sleeping in the astral patterns of the temple so that they would actively vibrate and resonate when I entered for the Hagith rite at night. I took this as a deep learning and hope not to repeat it too soon. As a magician, it is just so easy to become overly focused on ourselves and forget about the world we are living in. Again, good old Martin Buber hit it right on the head when he quoted the Hasid wisdom, don't look at yourself, but look at the world around you. The liturgic book. While I was tempted to change elements of the liturgic approach, I decided to keep it the same as for the first two rituals. Initially, I had the idea of incorporating elements of the specific psalms associated with Venus into the liturgy and layman. However, as this would have been the first time I had used such an approach, the Arbitel doesn't suggest it directly, and it would have decreased the consistency with the previous two Arbitel rituals. I decided to pass on it for now. As we will see in the conclusions from this rite, I might still use this approach for the forthcoming rite of the Olympic spirit of Oak, which is the sun. The Laman. As mentioned above, I followed the same approach as previously for the construction of the Laman, while the general structure was in place already on the day of the rite. I finished the version for Hagith, printed it on used carbon paper to copy it on virgin paper. Then I painted. I finished the final version. Then I painted front and back sides by hand and consecrated it with the essential oil of Venus in advance of the rite. Here is an image on the front of the template Laman for Hagith. The sentence around the inner sigil is the first and last sentence of the evocation text of Hagith. Traditionally, this could be replaced by the psalm that is associated with Venus, 22:14. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax, it is melted within my body. For the reverse side, I use the alphabetical kamea of the Hebrew name Hagith. On this occasion, let me recommend again the encyclopedia on magical kamea. Neva Shadrach has put together in his wonderful book on the topic. There's an encyclopedia on kameas. For the first time in my ritual experience, I took a ritual bath instead of a shower. Baths and me don't get along very well as they tend to slow down my pulse, that I almost faint getting out of the water. In this case, however, I hoped the hot water would take the nervousness off of me that had crept into me over recent hours. I felt uneasy about the ritual for unknown reasons, as if I hadn't prepared or purified my body sufficiently. I anointed the water with drops of Venus essential oil, and visualized how it cleaned my body, soaked my skin, washed the impurities out of me. Afterwards, no fainting, luckily, but getting dressed in clean clothes, taking the lamen and liturgic book, and entering the temple. The structure of the rite to follow was exactly the same as for the first two rites before. The Kabbalistic cross, the LBRP, the welcoming of God in the four corners of the circle, adjusted hexagram ritual of Hagith, gesture of the opening of the veil, Arbitel prayer for protection of God and consecration of table of practice from the second septenary, aphorism 14. Arbitel prayer to God for the appearance of Hagith from the third septenary, aphorism 21. Evocation of Hagith from the PGM, the Greek Magical Papyri, 986 to 1036. Oh shit. I'm gonna have to look this up. So I got two things to study. The Kamiya Encyclopedia, and then the evocation of Hagith adopted from the Greek Magical Papyri. What follows that is communion with Hagith, gesture of the closing of the veil, the LBRP, and then the license to depart. Ritual description. All things are possible to them that believe and are willing to receive, but to the incredulous and unwilling all things are impossible. The third septenary, aphorism 20. The opening. The air in the temple still was damp and cold. I lit a fire in the wood-burning stove and waited for its heat to fill the large room. Yet the logs were too large or damp themselves, and the flames didn't eat into the wood. After an unsuccessful second try, I settled on performing the rite in a cold temple and took my asana position in front of the black curtain of the inner temple. I meditated my standard opening, long breaths of pranayama, followed by a journey to a wooden platform high above the forest where I swept the floor and met my holy guardian angel. As the last step before the rite, I brought to life the lamen of Hagith by anointing it with the essential oil of Venus on both sides and all four quadrants. Then I put on my robe and paraphernalia and entered the inner temple. On lighting the candles below the elemental banners on the temple, I realized a significant mistake I had done in preparing the altar. The two candles for the rite weren't green, as it applies to the Sephirah of Nechak, but for some reason I had chosen red candles instead. Maybe the connection of Venus, Hagith, love had blocked my mind. I was confused as I knew this would create an overlap with the red candles from the rite of Mars at a later point. However, it turned out I was completely out of green candles and thus continued the rite with red candles for Hagith. Well, I guess this is similar to being invited to a friend's house, and instead of bringing flowers you had prepared, you hand over a wrench or a kitchen towel. Wrenches and kitchen towels are extremely useful tools to have for anyone. They just don't have anything to do with your intention for visiting your friend. So there I was, going on a date with beloved Hagith, a red kitchen towel on the altar. I don't think it mattered to her at all. But equally, it wasn't something that expressed my intention and openness to engage with her spirit in direct communion. If anything, the only risk was that the irritation of the event and the inconsistency of the altar setup would disturb my concentration and subjective synthesis. So I turned my mind back on the right and held my gaze fixed on my fingers as always when circumscribing the magic circle. Immersion. The presence of the four archangels after the LBRP was clear and vivid in each of their quarters. I performed the adjusted hexagram ritual and drew the sigil of Hagith into all 5 energetic centers of the hexagrams. Oh, that's cool. Damn. So he adjusted the hexagram rituals instead of doing the sigil of Venus. When you say Yod He Vav He Zav He Yod, you do you make this. The incense had filled the air of the inner temple, and I started the evocation of Hagith. My voice alternated between loud recitation of calling into the dark of the temple and a loving appeal of speaking lines of poem. Both seemed appropriate and started to charge my mind in the sphere of the circle around me. On finishing the evocation, I conjured Hagith by using her name as a mantra while gazing into the black depths of the table of practice on the altar. He was looking into a black mirror. After a while, I realized that I was standing on a mountainside. It was night and dark all around me, yet the stars were shining bright and painting the scenery in an unreal silvery light. I was standing in a magic circle just as I did in my temple, and nature around me had started to move. The wind was blowing over mountain meadows and moved the long grass, and the water in the riverbed was whispering. Everything seemed excited and in rippling silence and awe and great expectation about what was to happen. In the rite of Fool, I had seen the surface of the moon hanging directly above me, and in the rite of Ophiel, his geometrical shape had pierced through the top of my temple directly after the evocation. Fool is the moon, and Ophiel is Mercury. This time things were different and were much more figurative and concrete. Then suddenly, as I was standing in the middle of the circle, a star right above started to glow intensely and sent down a large and bright beam of light directly into the circle where I was standing. It was Hagith's star that remained where it was, completely out of reach in the firmament, yet connecting through this light. The ray of planetary light seemed like a rope that she had thrown down to me, so I grabbed it and started my ascent. With my eyes closed, I was praying her name and elevating the frequency of my body and mind to raise into the sky and come closer to the presence of her star. After a while of focusing on the prayer and merging with the ray of light, I found the planetary light expanding and fully surrounding myself. Now I could perceive the nature and structure of the light much better than before. What it actually was a geometrical shape that was brought to life by the forces of Hagith. It reminded me of a long thread of DNA. Yet the spiral was a channel through which a rush of energy was flowing, connecting the distant place of Venus in the sky with the place on the mountainside where I had been standing before I ascended. Now I was hanging right in the middle of this umbilical cord that had been created between Venus and Earth. Communion. After settling in the presence of Hagith's light and allowing her energy to soak my mind and vision, I started to talk to her. Oh, this is Frater Ocker. Alright. Ocker. Who are you? Hagith. I am a star. Ocker. What is your secret name? Hagith. Irasil. Irasil. Each letter descended through the umbilical cord into my mind. What is your sigil? Then says see below. How does your influence reach Earth? Hagith. My web is everywhere. I am without end and beginning. I am endless in my extension. It is the moon that mirrors and focuses my influence. Moon is the goddamn satellite for the holographic universe, son. Which parts in the human body do you govern? Hagith. The fabric of life, the sexual organs. What is your relationship to love? Hagith. Love is a light that opens. I am the seed that is put inside. What is the counterforce to love? Hagith. Everything that closes and seals. Which substances are correspondent to you in alchemy? Hagith. Vitriol and ethanol. How is your relationship to the forces of Nechak? Hagith. What is the relationship of a tree to nature? We are all one. What is your relationship to my holy guardian angel? Hagith. He is the light that opens you. He is your life. Which forces govern your influence? Hagith. Silence. And then the skies. How does initiation into your current take place? Hagith. Surround yourself with life. Abandon everything dead and dying. Which sacrifice can I make to you? Hagith. Bring my influence below the surface of the earth. Be a worker of my forces on the earth. This is Hagith's sigil that she revealed to him. It's fucking pretty badass. For a moment, I continue hanging weightless in the night sky, up high between Venus and Earth, connected through Hagith's living cord. For a moment, I can feel her influence directly in my body, intense and sudden as her energies continue to rush towards the Earth. Here's the best translation I can come up with of what I heard her speak to my body. Hagith said, if truth is too hard to be told, if solitude is too dark to endure, if exhaustion is too deep to cross, then I am here for you. Close your eyes. I am a river of light flowing down to you. Don't try to deserve. Don't try to take shape. Be silent. For me to be with you, you do not need to achieve, battle, or win, conquer, to want, to endure, to sustain. Nothing needs doing for me to be with you. Mine is the light that opens. Mine is the seed of life. Mine is the opening of the mouth. Mine is what grows unseen. I am the web of life. I am the loom of all beings. Within me I carry the seeds of present and future. My light is life that runs across the sky and the threads of my web. Love is a light that opens and doesn't confine. Mine is the seed of life that is put inside. My regent is the vesting, the armoring, the being, covering, and bark. My deeds are always naked. My force is subtle and easily hindered. I do not pierce. I don't open what does not want opening. I am tender and patient and will wait for desire to arrive. I am the force of the loom of life. My work takes place in silence. I don't make any noise. The threads of the loom unite. Love opens. I lay myself down and life emerges. I come and go unseen, for I am blind. This is some outstanding shit. Freder Ocker is fucking awesome, man. So the closing. Then I'm sinking downwards and the vision fades. Only now do I realize that my knees have been trembling throughout the communion, and my mind is completely exhausted. It seems elevating myself. It seems elevating myself close enough to be able to communicate with her drew upon all available resources in my body and mind, and left me richly rewarded, yet also equally worn out. I perform the gesture of the closing of the veil, take up the dagger, and finish with a lesser vanishing ritual of the pentagram. I speak the license to depart and conclude with a Kabbalistic cross. I blow out the candles in the temple, step through the black curtain into the outer temple, and undress from paraphernalia and robe. Then I clean the inner temple, stash all things at their proper place, and lock the temple behind me. Outside, the night is clear and cold, and I can see all the stars above. Conclusion. The first thing Samuel Sagan points out as the equivalent of Venus in the human body is the concept of quintessence. Anything that is refined, sophisticated, and concentrated in its essence is equivalent to the forces of Venus, whose nature represents the idea of preciousness, subtlety, and refinement. He goes on to explain the Ayurvedic concept of dhatus, the 7 primitive matters which constitute human bodies and whose finest or most quintessential form is sexual energy. A possible translation of dhatu is body tissue. The term implies the idea of a web or a fabric of fibers, even more so in the German translation, Körpergewebe, which is exactly what Hagith referred to when I asked her function in the human body, the fabric of life. This point seems to be a wonderful match between what I learned in Hagith's communion and Sagan's explanation of the forces of Venus in the human body. On the other hand, Sagan continues to explain the importance of the kidneys in relationship to Venus, an important aspect that I didn't capture in our conversation. Another important point to highlight in my eyes is that Hagith, Irasil, mentioned about the point and effect of love. She explicitly mentioned that her nature is not identical with love, but with the essence of life. Love, however, is her tool and her way to open and prepare things for the reception of life. Thus, the superficial identification of Venus with love misses an essential point. Her influence is much deeper than simply creating attraction between two things. Her influence is the essence of giving birth, of patience for the right moment to arrive, of caring for what seeds are sowed, of protecting what is about to emerge, of bringing life to life. During the days and weeks after the ritual, this important aspect of Irasil's influence continued to dawn on me and started to change my understanding of and view on basically all things alive around me. I tried to capture this process in this post on the female divine. Personally, this deeper understanding of how love and the seeds of life interact in order to bring forth fertility is one of the most important things I realized since starting to practice magic more than a decade ago. The sudden insight that life cannot be sowed into what love hasn't opened before. Wow. The sudden insight that life cannot be sowed into what love has not opened before. Damn. Subsequent sacrifice. I shall also give account on the sacrifice that Irasil asked for, and I conducted on the following morning. As mentioned in the first paragraph, the night of the rite was a coincidence with the devastating tsunami and earthquake in Japan. While performing the rite, I hadn't read the news and wasn't aware of what was going on the other side of the planet. However, what I did realize was during the rite was that it took me significantly longer to truly connect with Hagith's influence and forces than in the previous 2 rites. I remember even having the fleeting impression during the rite that I was calling Hagith from a place far away, as if disturbing her in an activity she had been deeply involved in and absorbed by. It is my opinion today that Irasil was concentrating her energies that night on many places where it was needed, trying to condense her fabric and weaving where other forces tried to loosen or cut through it. Certainly, Japan wasn't the only place that night deserving of Irasil's attention. Yet maybe it was important enough to absorb much of her energy that the mirror of the moon allowed to flow into the sublunar realm of our world. Be that as it may, when I read about the horrible news in Japan the next morning, I immediately connected Irisil's demand to bring her forces under the skin of Earth with the tragic events in Japan. At the same time, I realized she hadn't asked me to get involved in what was going on anywhere else than where I was right now at this moment. My job in completing her sacrifice was not to try to change things in Japan or anywhere else on the planet, except for where I was standing right now. It was my direct environment, the place of my home which I could influence and open to the forces of Hagith only. And that's what I did. I went back into the temple, unveiled the table of practice, sat down in my usual asana, lit another charcoal, and allowed the room to fill with the incense of Venus. After what was probably 40 minutes of my standard meditation, I had accessed the body of my holy guardian angel. Being dissolved in his body, I asked him to descend unto earth. He settled on the ground and started to spread himself out like a blanket of energy over the floor. At this point, I started to sing the psalm associated with Venus, 22:14. I am poured out like water, and all my bones are out of joint. My heart is like wax. It is melted within my body. That gives a lot of sense to that psalm now. As I was singing the psalm, I realized what happened above me. Just like during the rite the night before, the star Venus started to glow above me. Then it opened up a channel between itself and the body of my angel stretched out on the ground. The channel had the same DNA-like shape like the night before, energy rushing and spiraling down from the bright day sky. Suddenly I realized that the body of my angel described the circumference of the area in which the forces of Hagith could submerge into Earth completely effortlessly. Everything around me started to vibrate in light while my angel continued to expand the surface of its body on the ground. It grew larger and larger, expanded beyond my temple, our house, our village, then over fields and streets and meadows. It stretched out over the city surrounding me until it reached the feet of the mountains about 60 miles in the south from where I live. Like a single ray of light 120 miles wide, like a bright river of life, did Hagith's forces rush down onto earth and disappear into the fertile grounds below the body of my angel. My untrained mind could not endure this experience for anything more than 5 to 10 minutes. It was short, but I think my angel liked it. I know I certainly loved it. I hope that Hagith's forces might as well. The Gematria of Irasil. Let's close this ritual account on the Gematria of the secret name Irasil. I am calling it a secret name, even though I am sharing it here publicly. It will always remain secret, like a place that has been discovered but can only be accessed by few. This place can only be accessed by me. Every one of us will receive their own names of their Olympic spirits. It is the basis to form an individual relationship, the interface between our two fields of energy and life. The Hebrew transliteration of Irasil is settled on Lacry, Lacry, which is Lamed, Aleph, Samek, Resh, Yod. The value of the Hebrew word is 301. Note, should you be interested in Gematria, the free Gematria calculator might be of help for your work, which is available for download here. Oh, sweet. Related to the geometric value of 301, we find the following expressions among others. Aleph Sheen, fire. Aleph Sheen Foundation. Hey, Resh, Vav, Zain. A rock. Appearance, creature, picture, form, or shape. A technical term in Kabbalah designating the prototypical spiritual self. Elohim, spelled in full. Here is what I am making of this. Hagith forces are the essence of live. Thus, they are subtle and fleeting, like fire, and require substance to take shape and be nurtured. This substance is earth, the foundation of matter. What emerges from this quintessential union of substance and the fires of life is not life as we know it in Malkuth, but it is the quintessential idea of manifested life as it is contained in Kether. Thus, the term rock represents the eternal, unchangeable inner man or original form of human life that is begotten and not made by man. This Kabbalistic rock is the seed, the gift of Hagith within us that empowers us to transmit and reproduce life. Elohim, finally, is the divine name of Netzach and Bria. It is also the order of angels of Netzach and Asiya. Luke's, Frater Acker, may the serpent bite its tail. Shadrach Nineveh, Occult Encyclopedia of Magic Squares, Planetary Angels and Spirits of Ceremonial Magic, Ishtar Publishing, 2009. I'm definitely going to grab that. All right. So I'm actually going to have to put in some extensive more research into this Olympic spirit. So I'm just going to call upon the divine name, the archangel, the intelligence, and the choir of angels, and then invoke these things into myself, and then that is the end of this ritual. If you have stayed to this point, thank you for watching. I think this was a pretty cool little thing we did here. So let's get to this. Ooh, copper. grasshoppers associated with Venus. I'm gonna have to look up what that oil of Venus was that Frater Akra was using. Getting very, very interested in practical alchemy.
Fuck it. Ararita, Yeshua Zaviot, Ararita.
In the divine name of Yeshua Zaviot, I invoke the forces of Noga. I invoke the Archangel Anael. Yeshua Zaviot. Yeshua Zaviot. The Archangel choir of angels, they're the angelic choir of the intelligence of I evoke the powers of Noga. I invoke you, angels of the celestial spheres, whose dwelling is in the invisible. You are the guardians of the gates of the universe. May you also be the guardians of my mystic sphere. Keep far removed all evil and imbalanced strength, and inspire me, so that I may preserve unsullied this abode of the mysteries of the eternal God. Let my sphere be pure and holy, so that I may enter in and partake in the divine light. The visible sun is the dispenser of light upon the earth. Let me form, therefore, a vortex in this chamber, that the invisible light of the Holy Spirit shall shine herein from above. It is the intention of this ritual that I shall awaken my holy guardian angel and have knowledge and conversation. In the divine name of Yeshua Savior and the Lord of the universe, I hereby conclude this ritual. Duly closed. Hararita. Holy art thou, Lord of the universe. Holy art thou, who nature has not formed. Holy art thou, vast and mighty one. Holy art thou, Lord of the light and of the darkness. Amen. I, N-R-I, Ignis Natura Renovatio Integra, by fire nature is perfectly renewed. Yod, Nun, Rish, Yod. The sign of Osiris slain, the sign of Isis in mourning, the sign of Apophis in Typhon, the sign of Osiris slain and arisen. L, V, X, Lux, the light of the cross. Virgo, Isis, mighty mother, Scorpio, Apophis, destroyer, Sol, Osiris, slain and arisen. Isis, Apophis, Osiris, Let
Let the divine light descend. Nice. Alright, guys. Hope y'all had a good time. Maybe learned a thing or two about a thing or two. And I will be here to talk to you guys about some more shit later on when I study up on my Arbitel and the Olympic spirits, goddammit. Alright, guys, I love you. Thank you for watching. May the divine light descend on you and on your path always. In the holy name of Yeshua, Yehovah, in love and Luke's and light and life. Thank you for watching. Frater Sapientius Sages.